Good afternoon. My name is Brian Gromkowski. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Admissions here in the Graduate Office at William Paterson University. First and foremost, want to thank all of you for taking time out of your schedule to join us today for our presentation about our our Masters of Music with a concentration in music education. I am joined here by Dr. Carol Frierson-Campbell. She's going to be walking you through the presentation in just a minute. And in the meantime, certainly it's our hope. We know it's not the most beautiful or sunny day outside. Hopefully wherever you are, you're comfortable on a couch or otherwise able to take in a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time about our grad program. And just wanted to make sure you were aware of a few things before we formally get started with the presentation. First, looking a little bit further ahead, I know getting the chance to take part in a webinar is a wonderful way to get information, but it's no substitute for the chance to be here on campus, to meet our faculty in person and maybe talk a little bit further about your interest in the program. So I did want to make sure you knew as a save the date, we are going to be having a graduate open house on November 19th. So just something to keep in mind. You will be receiving an email invitation for that from us, as well as it will be posted on our website. And certainly if it works with your schedule, we'd love to have you join us for the open house a little bit further down the line. The other thing I want to make sure you know, we know everyone is busy between work and family and other obligations. So I want to make sure you know that we are going to be recording the session as we go through, and we are going to make this presentation available to you in its entirety. We're going to have it up on our YouTube channel by early next week, and you will be getting an email with that as well. I mention it because I know sometimes you might have to duck out early for one reason or another. Some may join us and miss a couple slides, so we do want to make sure that you're able to refer back to this if any of this information is of need a week from now, a month from now, whatever the case may be. So with that being said, I'm sure you're not here to hear me talk away. You want to learn more about the program. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Carol. And one last thing, if you do have any questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to type them right in the chat box there. We'll save them till the end of the presentation, and then I'll turn them over to Carol to be answered. So that being said, Carol, take it away.
Brian, thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate it. And I especially appreciate our guests being with us on what I think for most of them is an afternoon off. Sorry that Columbus Day hasn't turned out to be a bright and sunny day, but hopefully we'll be able to give you some information that's useful to you. So as you know, welcome to this conversation, this webinar about the Master of Music with a concentration in music education. Our degree combines scholarship with pedagogy and performance. And that's a bit unique in the region because there are opportunities for applied study as well as for pedagogical applications and scholarship. So there are opportunities for applied study, actually a requirement for at least 3 credits, 1 semester of applied study. That can include conducting, that can include jazz, that can include lessons on your instrument, it can include participation in ensembles, really whatever works for the candidate. Our flexible degree options do allow for interdisciplinary connections across campus. So if you have an interest in special education or in music psychology or in administration, it's possible to take some courses in those areas. In fact, you may follow a performance approach where you're really working on your own performance. You may follow a practical approach where you're really trying to figure out some element of what it means to be a practicing teacher, or you can follow a theoretical approach and really be trying to improve your scholarship. One thing that the Master of Music does not provide, and that is initial teaching certification in the state of New Jersey. You don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to have teaching certification to be in the Master of Music, but you can't be expecting certification from this program. If that's something that you're looking for, there's a program called the Master of Arts in Teaching. It's a great program. We do interface with them very closely, but it's not the same as the Master of Music. So I do encourage you, if you're looking for initial certification, to visit the Master of Arts in Teaching. So let's look at just a few specifics of our curriculum. Our curriculum requires a course called Foundations of Music Education, a course called Music Technology, and new this year, it's a TIME affiliate, which means the Technology and Music Education Organization. All students in the Master of Music take a course called Research Techniques. So you take that course with students from jazz and also from music management, which is really interesting. You learn a little bit about their areas and they learn a little bit about yours, and you all learn how to write and speak to people that maybe don't necessarily understand exactly what you're doing, which for music educators can be very important since we deal with such a diverse clientele. You'll take one course called Analytical Techniques that combines music history and music theory with a pedagogical view of how do you apply some of these theoretical ideas to your teaching. As I said earlier, you'll take at least one semester of applied lessons or ensemble. You have opportunities for many electives, and then you are required to complete a final project. Your final project can be a lecture recital with a paper, a thesis, a curriculum project. Any of those are possible. We're working with students in each of those areas currently. Some ideas that you might want to follow in terms of electives. Music psychology is one. Advanced choral or instrumental conducting is another. Instrumental pedagogy and instrumental techniques is another one. As I mentioned earlier, there are interdisciplinary options, and you can take independent studies if these options don't necessarily meet what you're looking for. So the primary music education faculty are Dr. Diane Falk-Romine, pictured on the left, and myself, I'm pictured on the right, Carol Frierson-Campbell, and I am the coordinator for music education. You can see in the next, whoops, sorry, I went a little too fast there. In the next photo, you can see a kind of a fun picture of the entire music faculty at William Paterson University. This is the full-time faculty, but as you can see in the webinar, there is a link for you if you'd like to see who else our faculty are. Applied Studios, I just created this slide so that if you're looking it through without me or after the webinar, you can get a sense of who and what is happening in the various applied studios. There's not a specific slide for conducting. Dr. Joel Craig Davis tends to do the wind band conducting, and that would be a connection to brass. Dr. Lauren Fowler Callisto tends to do the choral conducting, and Dr. Sandra Dachau does the string conducting. So you can click on any of those if you have further interest in conducting as your applied area. So very important question, what are our admission requirements? The first thing that you have to do is to apply to William Paterson University. That does imply an application both to the university and to the Department of Music. When you apply to the university, you will receive from them information about applying to the Department of Music, which is through a program called Slide Room. Through that, you need to submit 2 letters of reference. You need to schedule a classical audition, and if you are interested in auditioning for spring, we do have a fall audition date. It's the first Friday in November. If you're interested in auditioning for next fall or for summer, please contact the Music Admissions Office to schedule that audition. If you wish to apply to focus on jazz, you would not be applying to be in the jazz program. You would be applying to be in the music education program, but to focus on jazz as your performance area, that you would also submit by way of Slide Room. We certainly accept applications for the jazz program. It's just that this particular webinar is about the music education program, so just make sure there's no confusion there. In fact, your audition for music education can be a live audition if you want to focus on performance, a recorded audition if you want to focus on pedagogy or on conducting, and again, a recorded audition if you want jazz to be your performance area. There are some very specific complete requirements that you can see on the department website, which is just wpunj.edu/music. So who participates in this degree? Most students are practicing teachers who want to expand their knowledge and skill base. Most students take about 3 years to complete the degree. It can be completed in less time than that, but most students come part-time. A few have come full-time, but most students come part-time. Most students combine summer courses with some coursework during the school year. All of those have options of online or face-to-face. It's not that every course is available either way, but we do have options for various courses. Some are taught online and some are taught face-to-face, and some are even taught in a blended format using those two. Most students enjoy applied study as part of their degree program. In fact, as I said earlier, that's one of the really unique traits of our particular Master of Music is that we do find applied study to be an important part of master's level study. And most students complete a final project that helps them reach their professional goals. So for some, those professional goals have to do with being stronger musicians, stronger conducting, stronger performers. For some, that has to do with things like curriculum. For some, that has to do with wanting to get into things like doctoral programs eventually and really wanting to kind of build their background as a scholar. So we're small enough that we do a lot of effort to make sure that the degree experience really meets the needs of our students. This summer we have some exciting offerings. These dates are approximate because they haven't yet been announced from the graduate office, but they're approximately early July to mid-July, a course in Foundations of Music Education, usually taught online, and a course in Technology for the Music Educator, again, TIME sanctioned, taught by a local expert in this area, but who is really a leader in the TIME program. Second 3-week session, Advanced Instrumental Techniques, really having to do with learning to use some educational theories to really build your instrumental program, and also assessment for the music educator taught by an experienced administrator who's taken a number of particularly young students through the new assessment processes that the state requires. Let me just give you a sense of what some of our students have chosen to do for final project topics. For instance, as a thesis project, an examination of the influence of gender on music instrument choice. As for a student who was really geared towards percussion, an analysis of Charles Warnen's Percussion Symphony. A student who was really aimed at pedagogy, understanding beyond the language barrier, so developing creative strategies towards engaging 6th grade bilingual students. And a student that was interested in popular music in the classroom, wanted to know and did a survey of performance-based rock and roll music studies in secondary education. As I mentioned, other students were interested in doing a lecture recital, so a percussionist did a lecture recital and paper on the history and development of the marimba and Claire Omar Musser's influence on the contemporary instrument performance practice and technique. Another did a lecture recital on melodic drum set composition, comparing Max Roach and Terry Bozzio. And a third, who was a pianist, did a lecture recital on the mazurkas of Mikhail Glinka. And where are our alumni? They're really kind of all over the place. Jeanette Basilicato is an instrumental music teacher in Wayne. Alex Bocchino is in Summit. Tracy Curry is in Hanover. Pete Jarvis, you may know, is the director of our new music program. John Maiello is director of bands in Nutley. Wally Miller is an instrumental music teacher in Nanuet. Christine Paterno is in West Milford. John Scazzaro is in West Essex. Nathan Webb is both teaching in Paterson and freelancing in the region. So our alumni really come from all kinds of places, and we give them really the tools to move on to leadership in their district and sometimes at the district and state level beyond their classroom. So that's a quick overview. I'll give you some contact information here and then turn it back over to Brian to see if we have any questions.
Thank you very much. I don't believe we have any questions as of right now. That being said, if any of our prospective students in attendance do have any questions, we are going to stick around for a couple minutes, so certainly feel free to type them in the chat box. And while I wait a minute, I just wanted to wrap up real quick and say a couple things for anyone who may have joined us late. Wanted to remind you that we are going to be having a graduate open house on November 19th, which is this Sunday. If you liked what you heard, if you are interested in the program, if you're thinking of applying, we'd certainly love to have you on campus for the chance to meet some of our faculty from within the department to talk about your interest further and obviously answer some of the really specific questions that can come up as you start to think about the application process. So certainly feel free to join us for that event if it works out with your schedule. And then lastly, wanted to remind you that we did record this presentation in its entirety, and we are going to be sending out an email to you, those who were in attendance, those who weren't able to join us, to provide all of this information should you need to refer back to any of it. But with that being said, I believe we have no questions as of right now. So Dr. Frierson-Campbell, I can't thank you enough for your presentation. I certainly hope this was helpful for those that were in attendance. And just wanted to stress lastly that the Graduate Admissions Office is here as a resource for you as well. We're located in Morrison Hall, as are a number of the departments that you might take interest in, including the Office of Student Services, the Registrar's Office, the Undergrad Office, Financial Aid. We are open from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, and we're right in the front of Morrison Hall. When you walk in, we're the first door on your right before the Office of Student Enrollment Services kiosk there. So certainly feel free to drop by anytime. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions about the application process. But I believe that's it, and that concludes our presentation. Again, I can't thank you all enough. I don't know, Dr. Frierson-Campbell, if you want to say a quick farewell before you head off.
Absolutely. Just want to thank everyone for coming. It's been really a pleasure interacting with you this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day off, and please do be in touch. Come pay a visit, give us a call. Let us hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.